Here we go. So, hello Riga. So I have to make a little confession before I start, because yesterday we had a great dinner with the speakers. Quite a good organization, some marvelous cooking. So I'm always curious, so I talk to everybody, and I meet Marie, and I say, what do you do? So she says, I'm a CRO. I said, what's a CRO? So it's a conversion rate optimizer. What a wonderful job and what a wonderful word. But I have to confess, I did not know about it. So I thought I was a curious guy and I knew something about digital marketing, but actually probably I don't know so much about marketing as you guys do. So what am I doing here? So I hope that the Egils and Igars did a very good job, and Laura, to invite me here. But luckily for you, before it goes bad, it always gets better. I'm really curious about technology. Always have been, and I still will, and I think even my daughters are very curious, because I'm learning a lot about Snapchat these days. Yesterday, my daughter sent me a message saying that she just started her own website to sell stuff online. So we are living in crazy technology days, like very exciting days. And then there's these very traditional channels. One of them is called digital out-of-home. And I was also asking about digital out-of-home and outdoor advertising yesterday. So I was talking, did you do something with outdoor advertising? Outdoor advertising? No, we're digital marketeers. We don't do anything with outdoor advertising. So why am I here? So I want to talk to you about the opportunity to mix those two channels. The opportunity for me and you to get married and to get to know each other much better, because I think it's a very interesting opportunity. So a few years back, I started to work for a company called Barco. Actually, they are very strong in projectors, so they project stuff in cinemas mainly. And I was asked as an innovation manager to think about, what can we do with this broadcasting media with these displays? A display actually that was very much looking like the display here. So it's a broadcasting medium, so you can't do anything with it but just look at it and see the stuff what's going on there. And then on the other hand, we have in our pockets all these digital channels that are so interesting and so innovative, so measurable. So that's the story that I am going to talk about. Actually, who knows Calimero? Raise your hand if you know Calimero. Am I the only one? A few of them, right? Maybe it's the difference between, I was thinking the difference between generation Y and X, but you seem to be very young, so that's not it. So this must be the ugly digital out-of-home channel that we all don't work with. And in fact, it is a little bit ugly, because I will tell you about that as well. But let's hope that we can turn this ugly duck into a beautiful swan. Thank you. So if we go back in Riga, I don't know which day this is, so actually, digital out-of-home, outdoor media were very important. They were almost the only channel that we got information from. But then slowly, so if you would advertise for this great event, it would have had something like this, way back. But then, of course, we got all this new media. We got books, newspapers. That became really important. This is a very ugly slide, I know. I know all about resolution now from my technical partners, but I just blew it up. So radio became important, magazines became very important, newspapers, and TV, obviously, right? So we forgot all about digital out-of-home and outdoor media. I will come back to the slide later on. It's also, I think, well, I got to learn this digital out-of-home channel. It's also a very complex one. It doesn't add to me a lot of value at this point, but there's so many players in it. So many players that play a role. So before an advertiser comes on a certain billboard somewhere to really show his advertising, there's a whole way, a whole value channel that he has to go by. So you go to your agency, then there's these out-of-home specialists like Kinetic or Prostroscope. Then there's people who own these networks where you can advertise on. Then there's the billboards, and behind such a billboard, like behind this video wall, there's a media player. So I got all to know about this technology. Another problem is that all these networks, these advertising networks, are very scattered. If you would be interested in advertising, for example, in all the airports in Europe, that would be, I think, a nightmare. And the reason is because, they're all closed. They all have their own technology. They have their own salespeople selling this advertising space. So although some of these billboards have become digital, so they're not paper anymore, the business model of what we call digital out-of-home is still very, very traditional. So it's still just sending paper to a screen somewhere in a scattered landscape. And then you get something like this. Very rarely, but sometimes technically, it seems very simple, but actually behind it's very complex. There are content management systems out there. We actually were running at Barco the network of CBS Outdoor, which is now Exterion, which is in the London Underground. And you could not imagine how difficult that job is, because you have to think about wires, you have to think about broadband to send new content to it. What if the power goes down? What if the internet goes down? All of that stuff. It's really complicated. Very, very tough business. So here's our dear friend, the ugly duckling, Calimero. So now let's think about, okay, so what are the opportunities of this channel? And actually there are quite a few. This is New York, Times Square, as we all know it. But look at this now. We are all looking at this screen. So I have your undivided attention. And undivided attention is very, very valuable. We all know that. So some of these screens, if you would know the prices, I don't know them by my head, but there's one that is selling, I think, at $2.5 million for 4 weeks advertising. It's huge. And I used to know the prices of some billboards, and we also worked for, when we had the London Olympics, a shopping center called Westfield. I don't know the exact price anymore, but I knew that I was just falling down when I heard what CBS had to pay to the shopping mall to have the right to advertise on these, well, in the shopping mall you have these screens like this one, like one panel. It was like in millions of pounds for one panel. So the right to advertise there, or to sell the advertising space, huge, huge amounts. So definitely this channel is very, very valuable. But it's not interactive, it's not measurable, not all of this. Another thing is that it's a very fast-growing channel. One of the reasons is because the cities are growing, public transport is growing. If you go to a retailer, you will see a lot of displays. So this channel is definitely an interesting channel to advertise on, because you will get a lot of eyeballs. This is a store, so we would think the whole presentation is about digital out-of-home. I don't know a lot about it, but you also know about selling. All of your customers are selling, and we were just talking about this website optimization. How can I try to understand, who's coming to my website? Where are they coming from? What are they doing on my website? What's their profile? What are their interests? Where will they click on? And so on and so on. Well, actually, in a store, I think in the store in the future, you will also be working with a lot of technology to understand who is entering your store. Not somebody anonymous. You want to know about them. You want to invite them into your store, and you want to measure if what you do as content, as showing content in your window, if that will trigger to get them in. And how many people are effectively coming in? And what is their profile? And what are they doing in my store? What are the products that they are interested in? So there's a lot more to do with these displays than we might think at first sight. And then there's also, call them facts and figures. Facts and figures are friends. My dad used to say, and he's a scientist, so he should know. So this is the growth of digital signage. So digital signage, signage is a poster, digital signage is a digital poster. So this is an industry which quite a few big companies are very interested in, because it's a very fast-growing industry. The industry of the displays is growing fast. So you have the displays, media players, all these people that are providing these services. I didn't know anything about it before 2010, and now I know all this technological stuff. It's very boring, but the figures are quite interesting. So it's a growing channel. If you look at this one, it just proves that everybody thinks that digital place-based, so digital out-of-home, is part of the broadcasting channels. But look at the growth. It's the fastest growing channel of all of the channels that are mentioned here. This is coming from the DPAA, so it's an association which obviously is behind digital out-of-home, so I hope the figures are right. But they're quite interesting. So it's a very, very fast growing channel. Another fact is that I think that we will see a big increase of the number of displays around us. We already are seeing it within our smartphone, within our homes, but obviously outdoor the same thing will happen. I don't have the prices of LEDs, but this is the prices of LCDs, I figure, I hope, but I just wanted to make the point that displays are becoming cheaper, and it will have a big effect, and you will see them popping up in shopping malls, in your stores, outdoor, when you're on the go, and so on. So this is quite an interesting channel. And also we have another thing that we should talk about, which is there's not only these displays, but all the other, let's say, sensors and connected things, Internet of Things, that are really growing very, very fast. So that's also an opportunity. How can we combine these displays with all these new technology and all these new sensors? So let's start with a little quiz. Last time that I talked was at the Digital Signage Summit in Munich. So I wanted to do a test, and I wanted to know when I was traveling from Brussels, that was, to Munich, how many displays would be interactive? And interactive would mean like, you can do something with it. You can touch it, you can ask information from it, you can send a message to it. You can do whatever it is that makes it interactive, engaging, get a QR code from it, whatever, as long as it's interactive. I took a picture of all of them, not all of them, but all types of displays. And I can tell you there are a lot of displays. Obviously in airports, you see displays all around you. So how many would you guess of the 44 displays that I saw? I mean types of displays. I think there were thousands of displays in total. But if you would have a type, this one, and then there would be a kiosk, and then there would be something else, how many screens did you think of the 44 that I took a picture from types would be interactive? Take a wild guess. 10. 0. 5. 1. Well, you're all guessing really well. You are, after all, the experts, the digital marketeers. I wasn't, but I was very curious, and I counted 3 of them. This is one that was asking for feedback when I went to the toilet. How was your toilet experience? Right. Well, obviously this is very interesting information. It's real time. It will tell you about your customer experience, so you will learn from it. So this is much more valuable than just showing something. You are learning from this, and you're learning from this in real time. It's just a touch display. How simple can it be, right? And actually, we have a few of my colleagues here, because I started the company in Riga. The good news just goes on. Last year, and they can tell you all about this interesting technology of getting information from your customer in real time. Another one was, I always see errors also, so you still see there's technology behind. It's really funny, but this is something, typically for me, I just see that. This is, personally for me, was the best content. That's totally irrelevant at this point. And then there was this was very funny. I always have to try out things, right? So there was this display, and there was a big button. Well, big button, there's a button here. So I said, what is this display going to do when I'm going to hit the button? So I hit the button, of course. And you know what happens? There's a very friendly lady that comes to talk to me, and she says, how can I help you? I said, how can you help you? I just hit the button, I don't know, I was a little bit confused. And actually, she was there in real time. She was sitting at a desk, and she would be there to help me to find out whatever information I would need at that point at the airport of Munich. I think she has a very tough job because I saw kids playing all the time, so I think 99% of her, well, when she has to do something, is probably explaining what she's doing there behind that desk. But I thought this was a very intriguing, interactive display. So, we already answered that question. 3 of them, only 3 of these displays were interactive. So I think there is a huge opportunity in turning much more displays interactive. And I actually don't think it's so hard to do. And once we do that, we're going to learn much more stuff. This is again, facts and figures are friends slides, that I love to show, but maybe for you digital marketeers, it's not so new. So here we can see how the different marketing, advertising mediums have evolved. And obviously there's this tremendous impact of online and mobile, which have shifted budgets tremendously since the year 2000, when we were already massively on the internet, but advertisers would wait a little bit. But now, all of that has changed. And this event is all about the yellow line and the green line. And then there's this out-of-home gray zone. Actually, the blue zone is with that as well. I think cinema is also a place where we could call this also digital out-of-home. So my question is, because these old non-interactive media are clearly declining, they're having a lot of trouble, they have to rethink their business models. So what if we try to take this gray line and we move it into the yellow area? You know that, but I'm sometimes explaining to digital signage people who don't know that. That interactive is very interesting because you can click on something, you can show your interest, you can buy something. How good is that? It's targeted, right? If you are behind a PC, an advertiser already knows who you are because there are some cookies. And if you book a trip to, let's say, Malaysia, you will get a lot of interesting advertising from Malaysia. That's because it's targeted. It's also measurable. The E is gone, but still it's measurable. And measurable, obviously, Marie, correct, is very important, right? Very important. So, how will we move our dear digital out-of-home channel to the more interactive one? What if we can create it into an interactive, targeted, and measurable medium? So what if we find out how we can attract people that are just walking past a display? Is that so difficult to do? What if we can get them into the stores to come and discover all these interesting products that we have? What if we would even be able to analyze who's walking in our stores, to know a little bit more about the person that's coming in? What if we can show you, according to your profile, what you are interested in? So all of these things, I think, are happening right now, and I think they're quite interesting. So when I was in Munich, as a little bit of a marketeer anyway, I tried to think of a good word to help them remember what they should do with digital signage. Because honestly, when I see digital signage displays, a lot of them are really boring. They have ugly content. It's not with the digital out-of-home, obviously. Those are really big advertising campaigns. When you look at a lot of displays, they're not very sexy at all. So I was telling them, we should turn digital signage into a fest. And I'm coming from Belgium. We are Burgundiers, so we know how to throw a good party. This is Tomorrowland. Has anybody heard about Tomorrowland? Yes, obviously. It's a great success. People are flying in from all over the world to have this big dance festival party. So why am I talking about a fest? I think that any display should be able to do this with you. So it should be able to draw your attention. You should create a lot more fun, a lot more engagement, a lot more ambiance when you are looking at these displays. It should be engaging, right? Engaging meaning that you can do something with that display, that you can send information to it, you can participate, whatever it is. Make sure it's shareable. So make sure that you can send information to your friends about it. And then finally, because all of this, when it's interactive, it will also be measurable. It will also be trackable. So I'll show you in a few slides how you can do that. All of these examples are cases that we have worked out. So we were at ISC. I don't know if anybody of you knows about ISC. It's the biggest AV show in Europe, in Amsterdam each year. It's growing. Last year it was really packed, and this year they will have 2 additional days. So all of these big manufacturers are there: NEC, Philips, LG, Samsung, and so on and so on. But when you go there, they still show off with these video walls, but almost none of it is interactive. So we did a very small invention. We actually placed a Kinect camera. It's over there, at the bottom of this display. So when you walk by, it actually would, create an interactive effect immediately on this video wall. So that's a very simple thing to do, right? So when you walk by, you just trigger the attention, and something will happen on that display right away. So we were also able to measure the effect of it, not at ISC because it's a very crowded space, not the ideal place to do some testing, but I love to do tests. Actually, at Barco, I was an innovation manager, and I did some innovation projects also in the cinema. And we also wanted to try out new technology and also measure the success of it. So we were once at a cinema in Karlsruhe, where we had a display very comparable to this one, being in the lobby. And it was advertising, obviously, about movies or other advertising campaigns. And there was this movie with Maleficent, where she, what's her name again? The witch? Angelina Jolie, obviously. So Angelina Jolie was turning into a green fire. So what we did is 1 week we would just show this trailer of Angelina Jolie about Maleficent, and the other week we would do the same thing, but there would be an interactive layer above it. And the interactive layer in this case was when you would walk by, you would turn into a fire. If you want to see how that happens, you can go upstairs later on, and you can turn yourself into fire. But the question is, what was the effect from it? So how did we measure that? We measured that with technology which is called audience measurement. You ever heard about it? Audience measurement? I will not demonstrate it live. It's very intriguing technology, though. There's a camera, just a simple webcam. A Logitech webcam costs like $90 or something. And then there's a license you have to buy from this audience measurement technology. You can buy it anywhere. There's a lot of companies doing it right now. It's growing. There are more and more companies interested in. So what it does is it will scan the number of people that are in front of a display. It's a little bit scary, right? And it will count the number of people that are in front of a display. It will even count how long you are looking at the display. So it will count your attention value. It will even be able to get a profile from your face with a lot of parameters. And it will even remember those parameters. So when you walk away and you come back, say, that's the same guy. He doesn't know it's me, but he knows that it's this guy with this profile. Now it gets really scary because it also can make the difference in age. It will estimate your age, not kidding here, and it will estimate your gender. Yeah, I can hear you thinking. So I decided not to demonstrate this technology live. It's very dangerous for a live demonstration. But this technology is actually working quite well. And so the ingredients for this technology are continuously improving. So for bold figures, to analyze how many people are in front of a display and how long are they in front of the display and what's their profile, you can get really interesting data from that. So these are these audience measurement data. I will show you a slide with some statistics from audience measurement data later on. So we were able to figure out that this display that had been standing in the lobby of that cinema was attracting the tenfold of viewers. Almost everybody that was entering the cinema, it was really well placed, was looking at this display when it became interactive. And when it wasn't, it was only 10% of it. So there's a big difference there in attention value. The first step in this fest, the first step in trying to convert somebody. So another thing would be, why don't we make this fun? And why don't we have games? So I think that more and more you will see that all of these displays that we have out here will become more like entertaining. We have so many things at home. We have the Wii, we have the Microsoft and all these other game consoles. So this technology is already out there. So I would think that this will pop up more and more in stores, more and more in digital out-of-home. We have augmented reality. It's such a buzzword, but I've seen a lot of campaigns lately with augmented reality. It's where, I don't know if you have seen this campaign where there's a bus stop, and then there's a window. That's the dancing kid, you see? He was dancing there for more than half an hour, just with crazy. So kids love our stuff. And then there's these advertisers that are discovering it too. I don't know if you know the campaign, there was in London, I think, where they had this window, and there was a camera filming, behind a display like this one. But if you film behind, it becomes like a window, so you're just looking through it. And then you can have this layer of information on top of that, right? So they call that augmented reality. And it's been a hype because a lot of campaigns from Coca-Cola to others have passed the review. And they're really quite sensational. So what happens is like there's my girls, they love this movie. No, it's not a movie, it's how it's called, The Walking Dead. So there was a promotion about The Walking Dead, right? And they were just filming, I should actually have the movie on, but they were just filming like this window so you would see through it, and then suddenly there's this zombie coming to you, right? So you can imagine the reactions of people. But actually the technology behind was very, very simple. So you can create much more fun and stuff with this camera, but you can also measure with this camera, right? So that's quite innovative and quite interesting. At this point, I think they're in a situation where setting all of this up is quite a hard job to do. You know, they have to get in touch with people that are building these applications. They have to set up all this technology. So, and when they do, there's a lot of buzz about it. There's some companies that are becoming really big on this. Grand Visual in the UK is one of them. They're experts in this. But I think that more and more, this technology will also become more common. I think you should also make it engaging. We've tested out a few photo booth applications, right? Where you can take a picture from yourself, and then we can send it to the server, it comes back, and there's an effect. And actually, photo booths, we're in the selfie times, they work really well. So if you can do something with people's faces themselves, actually, if they see their own face within this display, like this augmented reality experience I was talking about, they just love it. And you will get a lot of more attention value than with just a broadcasting medium. Another example is one that we all know very well, but in the digital signage world and in the outdoor media world, they haven't discovered this yet so very much. So, there's these very simple ways of engaging people to also share something on a screen. So actually, I could just use my hashtag, send something to a screen, and it would appear immediately on this one. But also very important is that you can measure it, right? So SAP was using one of our applications in Dubai, and then I sent them this report, and they saw that from the 200 pictures that were taken at the event, it had a potential reach of 28,000 people that would see that passing through in their Facebook or in their Twitter account. So for us, digital marketeers, this is rather common to do, but for digital signage people, this is very, very new. And I think that's the way to go for all of them. This is, I don't know, it's very clear from far, but this is one of these statistics that I was talking to you about, where you can analyze, just with a simple camera, how many people are in front of a display. So it would count the total number of people. It will make a difference between, I think blue is male, and red is female. And then, right? And then there's these people that he doesn't recognize. He doesn't know what they are. But don't worry, it's just because they were a little bit far away. He will, most of the time, make a distinction between a man and a woman. And sometimes, of course, he will hesitate, as we all do, right? So a computer is not different in that. But when we are talking with our customers, we actually have a project now in Dubai where Caribou is like the competitor of Starbucks, is using this technology, and they're setting it up right at the place where you order something. And then they want to learn if they advertise specific content on the display, which is the menu board on top of it, what is the effect? And if you would only measure your sales, you would only have that. But if you can combine the number of people that are standing in front of it with what type of content you are just showing, with the number of products you are selling, then you have a much more valuable and interesting combination. Right, Marie? Yes. I see you already thinking, this is something we can do something with, right? And I can do something with your CRO stuff too, I think. I'm even sure. So, before we continue, let's go. Actually, I say back to the future, but as you all know from now, the future is actually today, right? A few weeks ago, we had this magical day where Marvy McFly, I don't know which one of you saw this movie, but for my generation, it's like a very famous movie, Back to the Future. And there was this day that he would travel to the future, and that day was a few weeks ago. There was a lot of fuzz about it on Twitter. So how I see this going is where, in the future, you just have to imagine that every display you see out there is just becoming an internet page. It will be connected to the internet, and you will be able to advertise on that just like you will be able to advertise on Google. And that's the problem today. Today it's so, it's very complicated, but the opportunities are already there. And technology people are trying to make it simpler to advertise even in the digital out-of-home space. But once you will be able to do that in an interactive way, it will become, I think, very, very interesting. This is what I was talking about. This is the Marty McFly. So he travels to the 21st of October, which was a few weeks ago. And actually, I was just imagining that any digital out-of-home screen would become an internet page. And then just a few weeks ago, as I was preparing my slides, there was an announcement which was really quite interesting or really big for the digital out-of-home industry, where Google, apparently, in the UK, at a number of billboards, is selling their billboards through via AdForm. So you can just, click, 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 and there goes your advertising space. It's available on these billboards. They're also trying to learn how to apply data to understand, what profile of people will be there at some time, at some point, to make the advertising more important at that point. So they call it programmatic. Sometimes wondering, programmatic, there's a lot of fuzz about it. I think there are much more data that we can still gather, and I think we will see a very interesting evolution in the coming years. Another way of looking at this is that all these screens, they're like your iPhone. They will have sensors in the future. Right now, we have a company that is just applying these sensors next to a screen. And if you do that, just like your smartphone has a touchscreen, right? So I could touch this, which makes it already much more interesting. Your iPhone has a Wi-Fi access point. So I could maybe connect to the screen. And Wi-Fi actually is a very simple way of connecting, and also then a very simple way of being able to send information to the screen or get information from the screen. So if you go to a shopping center and you're using the Wi-Fi of the shopping center, or if you're going to a cinema and you're using the Wi-Fi of the cinema, you could actually interact with the screen. You could be voting, you could be whatever type of thing you wanted to do. There's a camera, right? I just told you about the possibilities of a camera. So I think in the future we will see all these sensors being applied in displays that are out there. It will go slow and steadily at first, but I think it's an inevitable way to look at the future. This is me taking a picture. I think actually it was in Latvia. So I was here together with a company called Hands Up, a great guy who's doing well in digital signage. He was really interested in what I had to do with interactive. So we traveled to Vilnius, and on the way there, we were in a company. They moved, I think, from Vilnius to close to Riga lately. And these are LEDs. And this is just a glass window. So he was going to do a project where these LED glasses, windows, would be applied in a big building in Dubai, of course, of all places. They probably will start with this kind of crazy technology in places like Dubai. But if you've been to big cities lately, you will see that all these skyscrapers, they're also, frequently they have or projection mappings on them, or they have LEDs on them. So more and more, I think that we will see an increase of the number of displays that are out there, and that you can advertise on, or that you can show off information with. And then there's this slide. For me, it's an opportunity to talk more with all of you, because this is a landscape that I'm very eager to go in. We haven't done it so far. We are quite a new company, but I think the store of the future will have a lot of technology inside, which actually makes it very similar to a website. So I would imagine that, if you would have this crazy window signage, and you can compare week after week what the effect is of the window signage and the number of people that will go into your store, and you could effectively measure that, that would be very interesting information. Well, all of this actually is already possible today. We can track with Wi-Fi. There are beacons. They haven't broken through yet as a communication medium, but you can certainly measure the number of people that get into your store. You can even do this with a camera. A camera is just on top, and you just count the number of people that come in. And then you check how many people are, what the effect is of your content in your window. And as you are in that same store, there can be other, I think, very interesting KPIs, such as, what are people looking at? What are the products that they are really interested in? What are the products that they are touching? What are the displays that they are requesting information on? And if they are there, can we know something about their profile and show that right away? And all of this, obviously, to make sure that we can try to learn and optimize conversion. So, that is my story. That's how I think that this ugly bride, the ugly duckling, has become a very interesting partner to work with for all of you digital marketeers.
Okay, thank you, Frederik. So, do we have some questions from the audience? We have. I will try the first time through on the second floor. I want to try it. But you have to catch it. Okay, 3, 2, 1. No? I will bring you. No problem. I'm a gentleman.
That's clear real-time feedback.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll try the technology. My question to you is, do you have any data about how you can search the conversion rate if you're using any displays? I do agree they are very interesting, and but they are looking more like building brand identity. But what about the conversion?
That's it's a very good question. I think we're only at the beginning of this, right? So if we would have to measure conversion, it depends on where you are. But I think I already heard about a function which is in London, which is called the digital store manager. And the digital store manager there would actually be the one that would be measuring everything that's happening within a store to understand how people are going in, where are they going to, what their interests are, and how can we sell better. There's a company called Relevance One in Switzerland, which I'm going to meet quite soon. And they're experts in gathering all these data and comparing them with point of sales data. So, and they actually have KPIs on their website, which are really mentioning, I want to learn what the effect is from my in-store traffic. So how many people are really coming in. I want to measure KPIs such as what is the average amount of that they're buying inside the store. So there are already measurable KPIs out there, but I think it's the very early beginning of an exciting period.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have some more questions? Oh no.
You see, we have to get to know each other better, because you don't know a lot about this channel, and I don't know a lot about conversion, so we have to talk.
You will have time at lunch break.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can speak with Frederik too. And also there will be another experts which I want to share info with you. So thank you to Frederik.
I have one little surprise for you guys. I will also try, but it's a little bit of a gamble because there's a little PC behind, and I will try to show some entertaining stuff instead of this boring broadcasting display while the break is going on. So pray for the demo. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.